I'm jacked. I'm ready for this review. I'm feeling the pull of the gathering. Oh, wait. Let's see who else is playing the game.
Today, I'm going to be reviewing the classic Highlander from 19...
The thing about Highlander is it has this 80s...
There can only be one Highlander movie review. What is up, guys? My name is Jason. Welcome back to BACKTRACK Cinema, and today we're reviewing a Highlander. This is part of the Action Movie Challenge. We're on letter H now. This is one I watched as a kid a few times, but I'm really not, the biggest Highlander fan out there. It's a cult classic. It has its fan, and one thing the movie really did for me is that whenever I go down into an underground parking garage, I think of this movie. Because of that opening sword fight in the parking garage, I think of this movie, or I think of Death Wish 4, man. So it leaves an imprint in that sense. You know what I mean? So Highlander was released in 1986. This is directed by Russell Macaulay, starring Christopher Lambert, Sean Connery, and Clancy Brown. The story follows Connor MacLeod, an immortal Scottish swordsman who has to play this game by taking out his other immortal opponents to win the ultimate Fable prize. I really like the story of this and the narrative structure of the story. I like how we go back to the past and see the history of this Highlander and how he became aware that he was this immortal being. And I like the idea that they got to cut their heads off. That's the only way they can die. And that this journey that he goes on to and how it flashes back from the present to the past all the time. You're playing with a lot of different genres here. It's an action piece. It's a period piece. It's got some good drama in it. You got these beings, these immortal swordsmen, so to speak, who have this earning of something called the gathering and playing the game where they all have to take each other out, behead each other, and then this something called the quickening happens where they absorb, I guess, their life force of some kind, and when there can only be one left, the last immortal who is still alive gets his ultimate prize of knowledge and wisdom. That's just a really interesting, unique story to tell, I think. And the 80s was just full of really unique, creative storytelling. And there's some pretty good performances in this by Sean Connery and Clancy Brown. Sean Connery just elevates this movie, I think. I just love his character. Tons of charisma, and he's kind of like the figure who teaches Connor MacLeod of what he is, that he is immortal who can't die, and he teaches him how to handle a sword and how to survive, you know what I mean? And Clancy Brown plays our main villain here, and I love this guy. This guy is a great villain in this. He has that voice, right? He has that really deep voice, and I love how they make him look absolutely massive. Like, he looks like he's a 7-foot tall giant. How he relishes and just loves being bad and playing this bad character who just wants to take every immortal out so he can win the prize. He has some really quotable, famous lines in this, like when a prostitute comes to his room, she goes, "I'm Candy," and he goes, "Of course you are." And some of his famous lines, there could only be one, and it's better to burn out than to fade away. He's just a really gnarly, disgusting character that is awesome. Just an awesome villain, man.
I am in disguise. Happy Halloween, ladies. I took his head and raped his woman before his blood was even cold.
The real heart driving force, the Queen soundtrack, is awesome. I love the Queen music in here. Tracks like Give Me the Prize, Who Wants to Live Forever, Princes of the Universe, and one of my favorites, 1 Year of Love. And really, that song really plays into a lot of the themes, of how Connor MacLeod has lost the woman that he loved forever because she grew old and he's immortal. So he had to watch her die, as you see in the past. And he's afraid to really attach himself to anybody else, to love anybody else. And I just love Queen's song here and the message it's sending about 1 year of love. Where being this immortal being, it's okay to love because 1 year of love is better than a lifetime alone, because that's what he's doing. He's living a complete lifetime after lifetime after lifetime alone. So Queen really brings an aspect to this movie. The music, telling a lot with these songs. And not only Queen's music, it's got a good score. It's got a lot of horror vibes in the score, especially during that opening scene in the parking garage where there's this big sword fight between the two immortals, Connor MacLeod and another dude. Some things I'm really mixed on. the action scenes. I think the action scenes could have been handled a lot better. I find them to be very clunky. They're doing this quick cutting that I don't really think it has a flow to it. They're swinging swords. They don't look like they're hitting each other that hard, but it doesn't feel like they're hitting each other that hard. You know what I mean? It just does not feel real. That's just something I observed. I don't know. Maybe I'm all alone on that one. I don't know. And I like the flashback scenes, but it's just the look and feel of them and the transition. You go to the flashback scenes, it feels like a completely different movie. They're nice, wide, epic, beautiful shots. Like, I like that stuff, but I almost feel like the flashback scene should have been the grittier part of the film. And the modern setting, like, I guess this would have been 1986, that should have been the more cleaner look, if you know what I mean. It's just, that's something I observed. I do like the transition between them both, but it almost feels like two different movies here. I feel like maybe it's a budget thing. I feel like maybe all the money went into the flashback scenes. I think the flashback scenes is what I enjoyed the most. When you go back in time, I just think it should have had a grittier, dirty look. And there's some scenes in this. There's a couple of scenes that I find serve no purpose at all. We got one scene where he has there's another flashback where we meet another immortal being, and you think the scene's going to be about him, this friend of Connor McLeod. It didn't serve the story at all. We got Clancy Brown taking our main female protagonist on a joyride, and I just think it just kind of goes on for a bit too long. I think it just could have been cut back a bit. That's just a little mixed, though, just a little mixed on that. But the worst part of this movie that really holds it back is that performance by Christopher Lambert. He is not good in this film. There's times you don't even know what the hell he's saying when he puts the Scottish accent on. You can't ask him to do too much emotionally. You can't give him too many lines. He's pretty good when he's not saying too much. Like, I can see that he has that kind of charisma, that look they wanted. When he has to carry your film, he does not do a great job. And this is something I just really noticed that brought this film down, that he's just not a very good actor. You're asking him to do a lot in this film, and he just can't deliver on that emotion. He can't really give you the reality it needs. And when I watched this, I was like, man, how good would Mel Gibson would have been in that role? Mel Gibson in 1986, he would have been great in this movie. And I think he was offered this movie. I think he went on to do Lethal Weapon instead, and which was funny. Christopher Lambert was offered Riggs in Lethal Weapon. Thank God that didn't happen, but I think there is a little bit of charisma in him. I think, like I said, when he's silent and everything like that, it seems to work. It's almost like he's very wooden in his approach. It's almost like he's reading off a piece of paper. You needed a more talented actor who could really get into the character and really deliver, and that's just not him. At the end of the day, Highlander has a great story with a great villain and some kick-ass music to go with it. I'm going to give Highlander from 1986 a C+. Well, what about you guys? What do you think of Highlander? Let me know in the comments. We'll have a good discussion about Highlander. If you like this review, if you like reviews like this, you like movies like this, then subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future content. Go down the rabbit hole. Check out my other related reviews. Check out the other reviews I did for the Alphabet Action Movie Challenge. My name is Jason. You're watching Backtrack Cinema. I will see you next time, and I will see you in the movies. Cheers.